Hello, it's Lawrence Romanosky and George Kernew from Lugnutz in Calgary. And in the background here, you can see some of the cars we have for sale or that we're servicing. Right now, we're going to do a driving video on this very nice 2002 Honda S2000. And so this is an exciting car that brings back lots of memories for both George and I, because of course we met at the track when we both had Integra Type Rs, and George went on to buy one of a few S2000s.
So I had two. I had an AP1 that I bought, and I think I probably put about 70,000 pretty hard kilometers on that.
Yeah, all your cars are pretty hard kilometers.
All my cars have hard kilometers.
He hasn't driven this one much though, everybody.
No. And then subsequently there was an M3 in the middle, and then I got an AP2. And I really, I miss the 9,000 RPM redline. That few hundred RPM is just thrilling. So.
Yeah, all right. So we have a really nice dry car, very clean undercarriage, accident-free car except for a rear bumper. And we put really sticky tires on it. Anyway, we're going to go do a driving video on the car, try to stay out of trouble. Yeah, looking forward to it. So we'll just take the camera back and we'll get going. So I guess we'll start with a cold start video. Not that on a Honda there's anything really to look at on a cold start video. They all run perfectly. But anyway, we'll do it. You can listen to the engine. Then we'll demonstrate the top operation just to show you that that works properly, and then get going. So Aidan, why don't you go to the exhaust and just show what comes out of the car, and George, you can pop the hood maybe, and
Aidan, show that we have no temperature here. It's cold. That's good.
All right, fire it up. All right, and it's a Honda. And then come over, we'll just take a look at the engine now. And totally unfussy, smooth, no ancillary noises, no valve clatter, and certainly no knocks or any other issues. So the engine is in perfect shape, as you kind of expect with a Honda or Toyota. Even though it's 120 horsepower per liter, it's completely unfussy and dead reliable from probably the world's greatest internal combustion engine maker. Okay, so we'll put this down, and George will demonstrate the soft top operation. Up the hood, and
top up.
So it's an electric soft top, but you have a manual clasp at the end. It has to be the fastest electric soft top ever. I mean, it's literally like less than 10 seconds. And now we'll lower it again. See how fast George can do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's like 10 seconds. Okay. And anyway, we'll be off now. We're in search of some good roads. And George, do you remember how to drive a Standard?
It'll probably come back to me.
It'll come back to you? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so nothing too heroic for a while. We'll let the engine oil and the gearbox oil warm up, and we'll just go find some nice roads. There's no drivability issues. There's no stumbling. There's no chattering of the clutch. There's no squeaking of the brakes. No vibration from the brakes. No noises from the engine compartment at all. So it's like I keep saying, a typical Honda.
At low RPM, driving it sedately, it feels very much like a Honda Civic.
Yeah.
The clutch take-up is really smooth. The gearbox is, although it's close ratio, and when you're running hard, it really comes into its own. When you're just driving it gently,
it could be a Civic.
It's like a Honda Civic.
Yeah. The roads here are pretty crappy. There's lots of potholes and lots of trucks. So now, one thing you mentioned, George, is that S2000s, especially if they're driven poorly, can have synchro issues, and you haven't found any on this car, correct?
No 1-2. 1-2 grind is pretty characteristic, especially of the AP1s. And when I asked the initial owner about 1-2 grind, he looked at me like, what is that? I said, well, at high RPM, you do a really fast 1-2 shift, it'll grind. And he said, I've never seen anything like that. So
the guy was, in his mid to late 70s, a pilot from Lethbridge. That's where we bought the car from. And I think I said in the other part of the video, I've always had good luck buying things from pilots because they tend to take the maintenance on their machinery fairly seriously, because of course in the air it can be life or death. So that does actually translate to their vehicles as well. So we had a conscientious owner. Did his own maintenance actually. Including replacing the wings on his Beechcraft. So I've every confidence he changed the oil in his Honda. Will these tires squeal?
you'd have to run them pretty hard to get them to squeak even. So these are RE71 RSs.
Yeah.
And they're the closest wheel or tire that we could find that would match the performance of the original Potenza SO2s. They're actually an autocross tire, but they're okay for street use. You'll get limited wear. You might get 6,000 to 8,000 kilometers.
The way you drive, I'd get more, I'm sure.
Out of the rears. The front you get 2x the wear.
Yeah. Well, I just thought it was important to have Bridgestones. It's right. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm funny that way. I like the right brand of tires on the car, and it's just so disheartening when you find a car like this and it's just got crappy no-name tires from a dealer who just doesn't care and wanted the cheapest thing to pass the out-of-province inspection and just got some garbage tires on the car. That really just puts me off the car, because you wonder what else the guy skimped on, right? So ponying up for the correct tires, or like expensive tires, is important to us anyway.
Because it has the original 16-inch wheels, very, very few AP1 S2000s are still riding on the original 16.
Right.
The tire selection is quite limited. There are only 3 or 4 tires, and 3 of the 4 were autocross tires. So one of the things that I actually learned from driving an S2000 was keeping it somewhere around 4,000 RPM. Because if a hole in the traffic opens up and you're running at 2,500 or 3,000 RPM, which is bad for the car, it takes forever to get it up into the zone where you're making any power, and the real power is at the VTEC crossover.
You're gonna blow my hat off. Well, not much movement from the gear selector up. Just like literally the rifle bolt. Anyway, it was a really special car. And I remember just, reading every single scrap of information. And the internet was in its infancy. So but they were posting, up to the minute, news, press releases and so on the car. And the idea of 120 horsepower per liter was just extraordinary. Like 100 horsepower per liter was like benchmarking it, and that was not that long before what pure racing engines had. So I think Honda got to 100 horsepower per liter with I think one of the Civics, 1.6 liter and 160 horsepower. That was just a fantastic output. But to go to 120 was just unheard of. It was only what would the Ferrari 355 have had? 375 horsepower from 3.5 liters. So it wasn't it wasn't even that close. 110 or something like that. And even now, with the, advanced, 20 years on, with more advanced electronics and control over the combustion chambers, I don't think we've got past 125 horsepower per liter for a production engine, and that's a 4-liter 911 RS producing what, 520 maybe? I mean, I think that's as far as it's gone. So I don't think anything in the last 20 years really has surpassed, at least materially, the specific output of this Honda engine.
So we get a lot of interesting cars in the shop. We get to drive them, and this is still, 20 years later, it's still a thrill to drive.
Yeah.
But you can run it hard all day long and really enjoy the engine and enjoy the gearbox without being at triple-digit speeds.
Yeah, and the other thing is, from having, Astons and Ferraris and some other, exotic stuff, what really takes away from the driving experience is stress. Stress worrying about the car. So, if you're in a 2000 Ferrari, you're going to be, I should have changed the belts last year and I didn't, and now my engine's going to blow up because of this, or what's happening to my oil pressure, I need to go and send my oil away to Blackstone to get them to do an analysis of it, and or you're worried about temperatures or overheating, or
that was red line.
Or you're worried about something. If you're in a flashy car downtown, you're worried about somebody throwing a Slurpee at you. And this comes from experience. You're worried about temperature, you're worried about pressure, you're worried about rock chips, you're worried about your maintenance, and did you do this? And did the guy who worked on the car do it properly? And are you going to get some huge bill? And what's that noise? And all those rest of those things, for me anyway, really detract from driving the car around. It just becomes a lot of work, and you're worried about where you're going to park it, and all this. Is somebody going to be sitting on it when you get out of the restaurant, and all this other stuff? Getting, being, noticed by the police or whatever it is. And so, with an S2000, it's not going to break. You don't have to worry about temperature. You don't have to worry about oil pressure. You don't have to worry about maintenance. I mean, to an extent, a little bit with any car, but relatively speaking, it's just like a Honda Civic, and so you can concentrate on driving the car and shifting the car and so on, and not worrying about your car. And so that's really what makes, I think, the ownership of a Honda S2000 a really fantastic, and and then it's not a lot of money either. So for a very modest sum, which would buy you a new Honda, fairly nondescript one, you can have something that is, a lot of fun to drive, that I think is really sort of historically significant in the timeline of Honda S-Series sports cars and so on, and barely anything for annual maintenance costs, and just have a good time with your sports car. Okay, that's what I think a Honda S2000 is.
One of the things about when the cockpit fits you, it just works. I put in on both the AP1 and AP2 many, almost 1,000-kilometer days, and the seats they're amazing. They're comfortable. There's not a whole lot of adjustments. It's four aft and the back seat angle, and that's it. But you're just perfectly aligned to the wheel, and the bolstering is just right. Very, very well thought out, very well designed to really work with the car and the capabilities of the car. This used to be, last time I came out here, there were no houses.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't hit the dump truck.
There are dump trucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't hit one.
Yeah, we can get around the dump trucks, no problem.
That's amazing. It's got, well, I don't know, nearly 80,000 kilometers.
80,000 miles.
Sorry, 80,000 miles. And you go under it, and nothing leaks, like nothing. Well, you know, it doesn't matter what European car you go under at 80,000 miles, and you got to pull the engine out and sort it all out. I mean, you know, like every single one. And it's like 10 grand. It always seems to be 10 grand to like reseal your engine. And on a Honda, you look at it and it's like bone dry, like nothing's leaking.
We'll just do a round here.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we can't get any squealing out of those.
It's not. Not a peep out of them.
No squealing from those guys.
No, you're right. This was a nice road.
Nothing amiss from the engine, gearbox, suspension, tires. It drives just like it did, as I recall, when it was new.
Yeah. No, the brakes. No pulsation.
No problem with the brakes.
No.
No issues with the brakes at all.
You know, the suspension's reasonably supple too, isn't it?
It's
like,
actually
not
pretty
too bad,
supple.
huh?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not jarring. It's not, the inputs aren't sharp, yet when you go around the corner, it doesn't lean. And it's not some magical air suspension in the car or magneto-rheological, you know, dampers or whatever. It's just a lightweight car with a well-tuned suspension. That is quite amazing that the ride remains so supple, yet it doesn't lean. The only way you can do that without extremely complex air suspension is lightweight. That's the only way you can do it. And that's why something like a Lotus is always known for their handling as well, because they're
So in
lightweight.
addition to the brand new top, the canvas top, this car has a new windshield as well.
New windshield too.
So there's no chips, no crack, nothing in the windshield.
Which in Calgary is pretty rare.
Yeah.
You see all the rocks on it. Okay, so not much is going to happen on the way back to Lugnutz. We're just in traffic now, but I hope that well, you've enjoyed our little driving video as much as we have taking the driving
I've
video.
had fun.
Yeah, you don't get out much, do you?
I don't get over it.
Yeah. So I hope that we've demonstrated that the car doesn't do anything funny. It has no problems, and that everything operates as it should. And then I hope you've enjoyed some of the commentary from George, who's got quite a bit of experience from owning and driving these cars. How many kilometers would you say you put on S2000s?
150,000 at least.
Oh wow, okay, well there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so he knows what a good car is and what a bad car is, and you thoroughly looked this one over before you bought it and gave it a clean bill of health. So I think that you can bid or buy with confidence on this 2002 AP1 Honda S2000. Thank you very much from Lawrence Romanosky, George Curnew from Lugnutz in Calgary, Canada.